Well, welcome out there to my program once again. Always a pleasure to be here and always a pleasure to have you out there. Well, winter's arrived and we'll have to just put up with it for another, it's February, March, things in March clear up by April, we'll get a little better, pay our taxes, keep the government going. They do a lot of work for us, so we have to make sure we get the tax money in, right? Yeah. Anyway, I have a couple of guests on my program. They've been here before, and they're always enjoyable and nice to have so far as the issues that we talk about. The school department, you know, is having a little debate with the City Council, City Hall about net school spending, and there's the little situation where one side is saying that they're using a certain method, City Hall is using a different method, so we're going to talk about that with my two guests from the school committeeman Joseph Martins and school committeeman Gabe Andrade. Welcome to the program once again.
Thank you for having us.
How's it out there? How's the weather?
It's nice outside.
Mild?
It is.
Yeah, good.
Melting rather rapidly. Just, boy, I bet you there's going to be a lot of black ice come around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
It'll get colder tonight?
Drivers better be careful.
Yeah. Well, let's get into this this business with net school spending. Like you've never heard the term before, right?
At this time of the year, quite often.
What is the, is that still going on? Is still, it's still a live controversy as far as what the school department believes it should contribute and what the city is saying that they should contribute?
Well, first off, the law and the Department of Education, also the Department of Revenue, determines a foundation budget, and that by law, and the legislature, Gabe and I have absolutely nothing to do with the determination of the foundation budget. It's a rather complex formula that has a lot of items to it, but that after you calculate all of the taxable property that this community has, and the the medium income of the community, it come out with a figure, and that figure then becomes the net school spending for the community school system. Fall River's net school spending is somewhere around $120 million, maybe a little bit more than that. I don't have the exact figures with me at this point in time. And you have to meet that amount. Okay. I think it's about 122 million.
But now is that the contribution of the city?
No, that's not the contribution to the city. Now, Chapter 70 funding, that's Chapter 70 is the law that is state aid to education.
All right.
Right. They provide about 80% of that amount of money, that foundation budget, to Fall River.
So that's like $95 million?
That's right. It's about $95 million. Absolutely, that's paid by the state. The citizens of Fall River are, from Fall River taxes and fees and all that, is paying 19%, but 20% is close enough.
Sure.
Right? In there, right? Every community has a certain ratio. The wealthy communities receive very little Chapter 70 aid. Right? The poorer communities like Fall River, Lowell, Lawrence receive a good chunk of foundation aid, Chapter 70 aid. Well, however, when you're looking at this, it comes that Fall River has to pay approximately 20-some million dollars towards school. Because about 95, it's 120, about $122 million. $95 million is paid by the Chapter 70, right? And that difference is what the city has to pay. Well, back in 2014, we didn't meet net school spending.
Okay,
So
now, when you say net school spending, is that the contribution by the city?
that's total.
That's total amount of money.
Right, that's the total amount of money for education.
Now,
That
the
includes,
state,
that includes the Chapter 70 reimbursement, those $95 million, includes that, plus now you have to get to the 122 million.
okay, so let's say, like you just mentioned, it's 122 million. The state comes in with Chapter 70 money. The city of Fall River is liable for the balance, the difference.
Correct,
And that total is net school spending.
right.
And a city, though, seems to be, am I correct, Gabe, the city is short as far as their contribution?
There are certain items that, although are directly related to education, that are not allowed in the net school spending formula, such as student transportation.
Now, that's extra?
That's extra.
Okay, now we're getting into,
Right,
that's
that
good.
is-
The picture's getting clearer. And that's where the problem sometimes?
That's correct,
All right.
absolutely so.
Okay.
Student transportation is not considered as part of the minimum or the net school spending.
All right,
That's over and above that,
Okay.
and that's a city obligation.
all right.
And that was one of the issues that was objected to in last evening, but that's the way it is. That's the
Okay,
law.
you met last night?
Yes, we met with the city council last night.
Oh, with the city council, and,
Right, right, not a school committee meeting. It wasn't an official school committee meeting. It was just a meeting with the city council
all right, now, did all the councilors, where did you meet, first of all?
at City Hall
In their chamber?
in their chamber.
And all the school committee people were
No.
there?
There were 4 people.
4, but,
It was not mandated for us to be there, but given the fact that we still had a discrepancy, there was even though it was unlikely, there was always a possibility that it might have been settled last night. So
so
it was
4 out of
attended.
6
4 out of 6 attended.
Correct.
appeared, yeah, attended.
But it wasn't an official school committee meeting.
No,
It was an official city council meeting. And the finance team of the school department, which is the Mr. Almeida and his assistant and the superintendent, they were asked to come to the city council to...
now, am I clear that you're the chairperson of the subcommittee of the
Correct.
school committee as far as the finance
Correct,
part?
yes.
All right, could you give us an idea of what your job is? What does your committee do? In other words, you were there at the meeting last night with the city council, and what type of input was your, or
Well,
what came from you?
I just listened, and when certain things were said that I didn't think were correct, I just butted in.
Well,
but
that's not like you, Joe.
He never does that.
Like the budget that we have, that was done, prepared for the city council for June 1st of 2015, okay? Now, that's the FY16 budget, right? All right. That budget was passed by the city council. And it also be prior to going to the city council, we had to have a public hearing. So we had a public hearing, and then it went to the city council. It was passed. Now, as time goes by, it's Well, you know, we're not meeting net school spending. So we need to find ways to meet net school spending. If you don't meet it, if you are shy this year, that amount of money that is delinquent gets carried over to next year.
All right, and it's added, and then the following year, you might have additional net school spending, so it starts to get
That's
a
correct.
little,
And so we have a transfer from 14 to 15. We have a transfer from 15 to 16. And if we don't, and it keeps piling up. And if we don't solve this problem now, then the transfer from 16 to 17, which we're starting to work on, gets transferred forward.
what does the state say when things like this progression? It seems that it could get out of hand in a sense, because the city might not have the money.
You have to meet net school spending. That's the law.
Okay, which means, how do you get the money?
Yeah, that is a dilemma, I guess.
Well, the city raises money with fees, taxes. You can
Yeah, but,
always,
you know, that's why because of exactly that, where does Fall River get the money?
now, can it bond for it?
Pardon?
Can it bond for it?
No.
No, that,
no
it would be
bonding.
a very
No.
poor practice, because this is something that, an item that you'll spend every year, and typically they tell you
Well, I
not
guess,
to bond for.
I guess, let me revise my question. Could you bond for, in other words, it seems to be getting out of control in a sense. Could you bond for that full amount so you can clear this up?
No,
Okay,
you can't.
no.
You have to appropriate. Now, what the
So where do you get the money then? I guess,
well, you see, that's what's happening at the present time. Where do you get the money? So they're looking at every expense, and if it has anything to do with the school department, then it's going to be transferred over to the school department. Right at the present time, they're looking at the insurance on all the buildings. Now, in the past, because there is what is referred to as the community amount of money that has to be paid, okay, to meet that net school spending. And this amount of money has been broken down into, okay, what can you charge that is a community issue, like City Hall working. What can you charge for that to the school department? So you want to they're hoping to transfer cost from City Hall onto the school department to make up the difference. Okay. For example, at one point in time,
does that help the problem or does that exacerbate?
no, that helps the problem because of the fact that you're taking an expense that normally the city would pay for, and you're saying, well, hey, that's directly related to the school department. Push that over there. So now I have upped my expenditure.
Now, does Chapter 70 come into play?
It's the same amount. You only get that much. And you don't get any more.
Okay, so when you shift the expense to the school department,
So we have to expend about $122 million.
yeah,
Okay? We have to expend all of the Chapter 70 funds, approximately $95 million. Okay? Have to expend all of that. We have to expend the balance of Chapter 70 funding and the net school spending, that amount, which has to be paid for by the city. We have to expend that. So, let me give you an example, since you're a lawyer.
well, don't take that into consideration. I'm only the moderator here. You've got to answer the questions.
The law department, at one point in time, a portion of the law department was charged to as a city, as a school department expense, until the Department of Education found out about that and said, no, you can't do that,
Can't do that.
because we have our own lawyer.
All right.
And there, you can't do that. Even though you may take some cases from the school, related to the school department, you still cannot charge a portion of that office salaries
Right.
to the
Well, let's
school
take
department.
something I think it might be a little simpler in a sense. You have these school buildings, and all the buildings, you have all these buildings in the city, city-owned buildings, and they all have to be insured. So if the school buildings, that insurance is obviously an expense that should be paid by the
Yes,
school department.
that's what's being done now.
That's exactly the butt of contention right now, because in past years, what they would do is any costs that they would allocate to the school department. So in other words, something that the city paid and that they charged the school department for some of those services or whatever, such as the building insurance. They used to do it on a percentage basis.
Yeah.
I believe the last percentage that was discussed was 42%, and that represented the portion of the budget that the city budget that the school department represented. So they have charged the school department on a percentage basis for years. Now this year, and in fact they would charge any other services on a percentage basis. However, this year it was agreed between the school department and the city to change the methodology. That's the word.
Actual cost.
Well, no,
No?
but what they decided to do, and the state, this is one of the options that the state allows, would be to charge by pupil. So there's a pupil cost that is set by the state. I believe it's $107 per student. So they changed to a per pupil cost this year. However, what was never really hashed out adequately was what you would do with the buildings. And it was workman's comp. So the school department assumed that those items would remain on a percentage basis. The city, at some point in time, decided that no, we're changing it, which we can, which the state allows. It's one of the options the state allows, to charge those items 100% to the school department. There's your problem this year.
Well, let's get back to the insurance example. So if you have a school building and the insurance cost is $20,000 a year, well, I mean, that seems pretty clear.
Correct.
That's a school department expense.
Correct, but it hasn't been dealt with that way in the past, and the
Well,
the
you said
school
it was
departments-
like a percentage.
That's correct.
But wouldn't
And
it be better to disregard the percentage in certain instances when it's so clear?
It could be, because it is very clear, but the problem is then again, at what time did the city do this? So in other words, if it were clear that this had been done last spring, no problem. But it was not clear
Oh, no,
in the eyes. There were people who state that they never realized that they were doing this until October.
You see, let's take the treasurer's office.
Yeah,
Okay, treasurer's office issues all the checks.
all employees in
All right, goes to the treasurer's office.
school committee, I mean, not school department.
Absolutely
Yeah,
so.
okay.
Right. So a portion of that cost for that office, the operation of that office, is charged to the school committee, and also a portion charged to the regular operation of city government. Now, that portion, that ratio, in the past was determined by the total expenditures of the municipality and the total expenditures of the school department. Okay, the total expenditures for the city is somewhere around 250
And they would come up with a
million.
percentage.
Pardon?
And they would come up with a
That's
percentage.
correct. And so they'd say, okay, now, and the total amount of expenditure for the school committee was about 125 million, okay? Of which case, now, from that 250 and 150, there is a ratio there. There's a fraction, right? Now, therefore, that same fraction is going to be applied to the treasurer's office and say, okay, the treasurer's office was, and it comes out to about 42%, by the way.
And maybe the Department of Public Services, cleaning the parking lots and,
Snow plowing, we
I think
do
the school
charge,
department does
get
that
charged for
itself.
snow plowing.
oh, you do your own?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and we also get charged for water
Yeah.
and sewage, and that's all part of it, and as an expense. But you see, that ratio, okay, that ratio of money. Now the city is saying, hey, well, that all of the insurances for the school buildings is about $400,000. You own that. That's your expense. So if it's your expense now, that brings us closer and closer to net school spending. Okay, in there. So they want to do that. But when this budget was put together back in last April and March,
To
they
2015.
agreed with the fact that, hey, we're going to go on the percentage basis. Right? Now we're through here, we're halfway through the school year, and these items are coming up. And it's kind of hard to change midstream. Let's discuss this for 2017, okay? Because there's some issues that I also want to bring up.
Now, is this where this controversy of methods comes in?
Correct.
I've heard this a number of times. Of course, some people say methodologies.
Correct.
That's kind of like a fancy word, but it's really they have a method and you have a method, which these methods do not coincide.
And the
this is
interesting thing is that there's agreement on most of it. There is disagreement on a couple of parts of it, which is the workman's comp and the building insurance.
Now, the parts that there was a disagreement on, are these major to the budget or minor? As far
Well,
as
it's major to the
money.
budget, because if we will eventually come to an agreement, because the matter is now going to be brought to the Commissioner of Education.
oh, well, then that'll be it.
So a solution is going to come about.
You'll get a dictate from up above.
Yeah, absolutely so.
Well, and you could figure the cost is going to be, the disparity in cost is going to be based on the percentage. If currently the school department is paying 42%, now they will be paying 100%. So you can imagine that it's we're paying less than half right
Okay,
now of what we
this
would.
is an interesting conversation, believe me, but we're getting down to the end of the program already. And however you work this out with the city, is this really going to affect the amount of money that needs to be spent?
No.
It's
You
how
know,
we
just-
get there.
How you get, who's going
And
to?
wait, this is the amount of money we get to it. The city is saying, we don't have that money, okay?
It's like two partners, and one saying, no, you owe it, and the other guy says, no, it's your cost. But eventually, to keep the partnership together, of course, they're going to have to come to some kind of
Correct.
reconciliation.
Correct.
Now, interestingly enough, also, that meeting last night, and it was not the full city council meeting. This was a finance committee meeting, which takes place before the regular meeting
Yeah.
every time. And that finance committee meeting lasted almost 2.5 hours on this. And then they had other items to discuss. So you can imagine how contentious it gets. Also, and I mean, people were amicable, and there was no screaming or anything like that. But also, almost all, perhaps even all of the city councilors said something that I've said for a while, which is, we can't go on like this, you know, wrangling about this issue every single year. We've got to have this in writing, so everybody knows exactly what's been agreed to, so that this doesn't happen. It's been every year I've been on the committee, and actually I can go back to at least a year or two before I got on the committee. where there was this wrangling over net school spending every year.
Okay, we kind of got into that. Once again, briefly, superintendent making progress. What's going on? Are you going to hire someone?
I hope this is making progress. We have a company to do the search to get someone. We got to award it. Time is moving on, and I am concerned about that.
This is
and-
February, almost the mid.
Yeah.
St. Valentine's Day Sunday, Joe. Remember your wife. You too,
Yeah.
Gabe.
Correct, actually, so, yeah, it's, the superintendent has vacation time, which she's entitled to use, and.
How much do you know?
I don't know.
So
I
she
don't
could
know.
pull out early.
Yeah,
She could.
and that is my concern. Now, if, we need to move along, but the time frame is determined by the mayor, and.
And she can't stay additional time because she's got an obligation.
That's
she has an
correct.
In
obligation
Barnstable.
Right.
But,
And,
okay, yeah.
I believe that the timetable as of right now calls for us to get the deadline for receipt of applications or proposals for the firm that's going to help us to search for a new superintendent.
Now, it's going to be a national search?
No, I don't think so. I think it will probably be a statewide.
Statewide?
Search. But I believe the deadline for that is early March. So
As far
sometime,
as what deadline?
to receive all those
Applications?
not superintendent applications, but from the firm that will help us do it.
we sent out an RFP, request for
Oh,
proposal.
okay, so you have to pick.
So, and now we have to pick some organization that is
Yeah.
then going to do the search. It'll take about 2 weeks just to get, for the process of getting the proposals back. And then we have to meet with that company, whoever company is selected, to say, okay, this is what we're looking for in a superintendent.
Now, will it be full school committee meetings when you meet with these people, or do you have a subcommittee that will make a recommendation to the full committee?
We will. I believe initially the plan is to not have a full committee, precisely because even
Because
into
this will be time away from actual school committee meetings.
Right. Even in the early stages of interviewing the applications for the job, for the superintendent's position, we were advised that by legal counsel that it would be better not to have a quorum, but that way people could feel free to apply without having divulged
Oh,
to
yeah.
their employers that they're applying for.
Okay, we're down at the end. Any last comments, Gabe? Any prediction?
Well, I agree with Joe. Eventually, we'll get the net school spending issue resolved, and I think this time we will try to make sure that we will.
Joe, anything, any last comments?
Don't forget to send some roses to your daughter.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, thank you, gentlemen, and see you in 3 weeks.
That sounds good.
I hope you enjoyed what you heard, and I hope it clears things up. It did for me. Net school spending has always been something that not quite that I had my mind on and understood, but good explanation from the two school committee people. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Well, that's cleared it up a lot.